The Big Sleep, Raymond Chandler. All right. I read This Way for the Gas, ladies and gentlemen, by Borowski. And that book made me really sad, depressed. It's horrifying. And then, immediately after that, I picked up Germinal by Emile Zola, which was wonderful, but it was 500 pages about the struggles of these northern French coal miners in the 1800s. And that was also really a hard, heavy book to read. Not depressing, but very serious. People who are forced to work miserable conditions for very little money while the company just soaks up all the profits. Ancient history kind of stuff. After those two books, I said, I need something light and fun. And I picked up this. Wow, was it ever a tonic to my nerves. When a dying millionaire hires Philip Marlowe to handle the blackmailer of one of his two troublesome daughters, Marlowe finds himself involved in more than extortion. Kidnapping, pornography, seduction, and murder are just a few of the complications he gets caught up in. Raymond Chandler was born in 1888 and published his first short story in 1933. 1933, well, he would have been 45 years old, my. In the pulp magazine Black Mask. By the time he published his first novel, The Big Sleep, 1939, featuring, as did all of his major works, the iconic private eye Philip Marlowe, it was clear that he had not only mastered a genre, but had set a standard to which others could only aspire. Chandler created a body of work that ranks with the best of 20th century literature. He died in 1959. The hard-boiled detective Philip Marlowe is called to have an interview with a dying millionaire. The millionaire is being blackmailed, and it is not the first time this has happened because he has two daughters, and they are both running wild. Rich girls with no inhibitions and no restrictions. To say that they are a handful is an understatement. So the old millionaire has to hire Philip Marlowe to find out what is going on with this blackmailing situation. He has received some letters from a local pornographer saying that his daughter owes him money and that if he does not pay, he will send this information to the police and they will publish it, and she will be a scandal around the family name. The thing is that the older daughter was married to a gangster, a famous bootlegger named Rusty Reagan. And this old man, so the old man is known as the General Sternwood, but what's his real name? Let's just call him the General. The General Sternwood, and his two daughters, the older daughter is Vivian, the younger daughter is Carmen. Carmen is a little bit wilder than Vivian. It was Vivian who was married to this bootlegger, Rusty Reagan. And already this situation is a bit complicated because he, being a gangster and a bootlegger, he had a lot of money, but him marrying into this family was a guaranteed payday. When the general died, the daughters were going to inherit everything and they would all be wealthy beyond normal circumstances. But this Irish bootlegger, for some reason, ran off. He just disappeared. He ran away. And the general tells this to Philip Marlowe. And Philip Marlowe asks him, he says, do you want me to find Rusty Reagan? He says, no. But if it happens that you discover his whereabouts, I would be happy to know that he was still alive and where he might be. If he's in America or in Mexico, wherever he departed to, I just would like to know that he's still alive. Remember, this is his son-in-law. It's assumed that this gangster, Rusty Reagan, actually ran away with the wife of another gangster who's organizing his own little private casino. So there's quite a lot of gangster action taking place, and as I said, these two daughters are wild. The older one, Vivian, she keeps collecting these IOUs, she borrows money from gangsters. The younger one, Carmen, well, Carmen has some photos taken of her completely nude, showing everything. And she's out of her mind on some kind of a cocktail, like, what is it? It's something like gin, maybe Canadian whiskey, mixed with laudanum. What's laudanum connected to? Something like morphine or ether. I know laudanum, it's something that they used to talk about in the old books. So apparently she's been drinking something like this. At one point, Philip Marlowe discovers her sitting in fully nude, sort of posing in this Egyptian pose. Our hero, Philip Marlowe, has his hands full trying to figure out who is sending the blackmail messages and why. What is their purpose in blackmailing this old man? Like, it's not just about the $5,000 that they're asking for, which perhaps that doesn't sound like much to ask from a millionaire, but I'll give you some perspective in a few minutes when I read out one of the passages, how much money that actually is. The question is, what is their motive? Because Philip Marlowe tells the old millionaire, the general, he says, you know that if you pay him, he'll know that you're an easy touch, and it won't be just the one time. It'll happen again and again. And that's why he hires Philip Marlowe to get to the bottom of this, to find out what is it this person wants, and can we not do away with, not eliminate, but can we crack down on this person and let them know that that the general will not be blackmailed. Maybe we can get some dirt on this blackmailer. From there, we meet quite a lot of gangsters. We meet a cold-blooded killer, a hitman. It's an entire cast of film noir bad guys, plus the two daughters who, maybe it's just me, but of all of the characters and all of the criminals in this book who were tough, who were killers, who were unafraid, who were quick to use their fists, the ones that really I was most afraid of were the two daughters, especially Carmen, because Carmen was a little bit unhinged. That is The Big Sleep, and I really highly recommend you read it. It's a perfect book for the summer. It's very easy to read. There's quite a lot of characters. I think my memory is getting bad, or perhaps I've just been reading too many books recently, but I just can't seem to hold on to the characters' names. Maybe because everybody's a gangster in this book. So, you know, there's the blackmailer gangster, there's the pornography gangster, and then there's the illegal casino gangster. Oh, and also there's the one whose name I do remember, Rusty Reagan, and he is not even present in the book because he disappeared. So that's the only one whose name I remember. All right, how much is $5,000? Listen to this. I got $500 from your father, which I didn't ask for, but he can afford to give it to me. I can get another 1,000 for finding Mr. Rusty Reagan, if I could find him. Now you offer me 15 grand. That makes me a big shot. With 15 grand, I could own a home and a new car and 4 suits of clothes. I might even take a vacation without worrying about losing a case. That's fine. So $15,000, new house, new car, 4 beautiful tailor-made suits, and a holiday. $15,000 is a huge amount of money at this time. And so blackmailing this guy for $5,000 it's not $5,000 money in today's money. It's probably more like $100,000, I guess. The one thing about this book that you need to know is that it's filled with all of that old style gangster slang, you know, that Edward G. Robinson kind of stuff. It may seem a little bit funny to modern readers, all of these slang expressions and idioms, but I quite enjoyed it. I like colorful language. Even if it feels extremely outdated, well, there's just the question in my mind, like, how real was this actually? I think Raymond Chandler was putting it on a little bit to make it quite a bit more fanciful than it actually was, because that was the style for this crime thriller. If you've been reading a lot of heavy books like I have, if you just want something light for the summer, 230 pages. If you're a fan of film noir and you want to know where quite a lot of the aesthetic came from, well, it came from German Expressionism, I could tell you that because of my fancy university education, but it also came from Raymond Chandler and this novel. This was the first Philip Marlowe novel, and yeah, read it. It's a great book, and it's fun. It's really, really fun, that old gangster style. This isn't my typical cup of tea, but I did enjoy it very much. It's something different, something fun. I always like to go from one extreme to another, because it makes the books even that much more exciting if I can bounce from one era to another, from one nationality to another, because there's a huge disparity in the voice and the thinking and the ethos of the time that is very, very enjoyable for me. Like if you get stuck, say if you really get a big kick going with Steinbeck and you read The Grapes of Wrath and you read East of Eden, then you decide you're going to read Tortilla Flat and you're going to read Cannery Row, and of course you've got to read The Pearl, and maybe you're also going to read Of Mice and Men. It's all of the same epoch, and it's written by the same author who has a very distinct voice. You're going to get really bogged down in a very specific era, but if you bounce around the way I like to do and go from country to country and old stuff, modern stuff, old stuff, modern stuff, that's my own kind of thing that I like to do. I enjoy that. It makes me feel like I'm really exploring when I read books that way. Maybe I'm just crazy. Oh well, that's a big rambling bit of nonsense. Thank you for watching. Take care. Have a great day. Read The Big Sleep by Raymond Chandler. All right.